2021. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, there's no change on 64 in St. Charles County. This traffic reports the service of Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. There's still just the left lane open at Prospect because of an earlier tractor-trailer fire. As you leave the city, westbound 64, bumper to bumper, Boyle out to McCausland. It's still west of Lindbergh to 270. There's a slowdown at K and approaching Winghaven, but it jams west of Winghaven. Again, only left lane open at Prospect. More folks took westbound 70 home. It's not as bad running around the airport, but it is bumper to bumper, Mid-Rivers to 79, and then it's slow pockets all the way out through Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 364 between Mid-Rivers and K looks a little heavy as well. South 270 backs up. South of Page to Ladue remains slow all the way down through Gravois. North 270 Doherty Ferry up to Ladue slow. Right lane still a little busy north of Dorset. Southbound 170 Bogstown. Olive to 64 northbound from Natural Bridge up to Airport Road. Southbound 55 a jam from Arsenal down to Bates, still slow north of Z through to Abad McNutt, and eastbound 70 and 64 both heavy east of the Poplar. Eastbound 70 also jams east of the Three Eyes over to Route 4. If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorstlouis.com. Next update at 5:20 from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
News, traffic, and the latest on the Redbirds. This is the Redbird Rush Hour on KMOX.
Here we go on a Thursday evening. No Cardinals baseball today. They're back at tomorrow, but just because there's no Cardinals baseball doesn't mean we don't do the Redbird Rush Hour. No, we are here every single day unless there is an actual Cardinals game going on.
Yes.
That's Kevin Wheeler. I'm Matt Pauley.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Kevin. We appreciate everybody being with us. If you want to comment on anything that we're talking about, you can always text into the program at 314-436-7900. We say hello to everybody who's watching us on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, and you can just leave comments and you can get involved in the conversation today. Cardinals are going to open up a series against the Phillies coming up tomorrow. And Kevin, let's start with kind of something happening that we expected it to see happen, and that is Chris Roycroft reportedly has been sent to AAA Memphis. But I think the more interesting part about this is who's coming up in Roddery Munoz. And I say that because something I have said to you and said to our listeners over and over and over again is I'm high on this bullpen. I'm partially high on the bullpen because of some of the arms that aren't even in St. Louis yet. And one of those arms is indeed Roddery Munoz. So I'm excited to see him.
Well, he's got a big fastball, man. I mean, you know, as a starter last year, because he worked as a starter for the Marlins. So as a starter last year, his fastball averaged 95 miles an hour, and he was 98, 99 in the spring. I talked about him with Ricky Horton earlier today. And, you know, there's definitely a lot of life there. Now, he walks people. I mean, he's pitched 5 innings at Memphis. He's walked 5 guys. So, you know, that's going to be an issue. But he's also got 7 strikeouts. It's funny. Somebody on Twitter today replied to me with my comment and said, basically we swapped out Roycroft for another Roycroft. Like, to a degree, yes, a hard throwing guy with command problems. Yes. The difference, I think, is one, it's a fresher arm because Roycroft has been a part of this kind of mishmash of the last handful of days, and he's pitched a few times. But also, it's a guy that can cover multiple innings.
Sure.
You know, Roddery Munoz has been a starter, so if you want a guy to go 2 or 3, there's a chance he could do that. There's no chance Roycroft's doing that, really. He's been a reliever for a long time.
And I would add a couple more things when it comes to Munoz. First off, he has more of a major league pedigree than Roycroft.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I also think what's really interesting as they move forward is, will the Cardinals, by making him as a relief pitcher, allow him to have more control? Because that was one of the keys in spring training, that maybe moving him from being a starter to a reliever, it might even up the velo a little bit, but it might also allow him to be locked in a bit. Now, to your numbers, 5 walks and 5 innings at Memphis, It hasn't happened yet, but I think you can hold out hope. And if that does indeed happen, he can be a real weapon out of the bullpen.
Well, it's going to be development time. I'm right. You know, this is kind of a theme that we may hit on more as we go through today, but you know, I mean, we still have to kind of get used to embracing this idea of a reset thing, and we'll get into more depth on that later on when we have more time. But he's still in development. This is not a guy coming in here that's supposed to be like good to go, plop him in the 7th inning. This is going to be a guy that's more of a long guy, or he's coming in when you're behind, something along those lines. But it's a live arm who can miss bats. And, you know, you look at him as a starter. he threw 5 pitches, and most of them sucked.
Yeah.
And he had command problems. But if you can get him into this, get him used to being a full-time reliever, and we get that down to maybe 2 or 3 pitches, and you can hone in on those. And, look, a walk an inning is not the end of the world as a reliever. As a starter, it's a big problem. It's not great, by the way. We don't want that. We don't want the walk per inning. But, if you're going to strike people out and you're only working inning at a time, you can kind of navigate around it if you're not giving up a lot of hard contact.
If your whip is, not to interrupt you, but if your
Yeah.
whip is just above 1 and it's just above 1 because most of it is encountered by walks, then it's not a huge deal.
No, it's got to, I mean, it's about the number of base runners you allow, not just how they get on. That's a great point.
Yeah. So during spring training, he might have been the bullpen arm that impressed me the most. And I got the sense that the Cardinals probably wanted to get him to Memphis for just a little bit of time, that he probably didn't have much of a chance of making the team because they wanted to see him like that. But I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited about him. I also think there continues to be a lot of reasons to be excited about Chris Roycroft. When I talk about what I think this bullpen could be and how it can be a strength to this team, I include Roycroft in that equation. He's got to throw more strikes. He's got to find the velocity that he's lost off of his pitches here recently. But I think Roycroft is a really important part of this bullpen here moving forward.
Well, I mean, every one of these guys can be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like this is a team that, for now we're still treating it like you're trying to make the playoffs, right? I mean, that's how we're looking at things, how we're analyzing things. But we may realize at some point that's not the point, because this year was not positioned that way in the offseason. We all kind of talked ourselves into that by looking at the rest of the division not being all that great, by hoping that you'll get some bounce backs. And it may still be a year where you can compete for a playoff spot, but it also might not be. And that was kind of in the cards all along. Sorry, I didn't mean to do the pun there.
That's all right.
but it's kind of been that way, because when you looked at the structure of it, I mean, that's why Matthew Liberatore makes the rotation instead of Steven Matz, because you're not just looking at what's best for now, because your bullpen's better with Liberatore in the bullpen.
Clearly.
Right? I mean, again, Matz is fine there, but Matz is not used to it. He's not really a weapon yet because he's not used to doing back-to-back days and all that stuff. So a lot of the decisions being made are being made with the long term in mind. Now, what's going to be interesting is, when does the urgency kick in for guys that are established players struggling? Because the young guys are going to get rope. And so what does it look like when Victor Scott struggles? What does it look like when Walker struggles? Because they will. It's going to happen. So what it's going to look like is they're going to keep going out there. That's the team's plan, even if it's at the detriment of winning and losing right now.
I think that's true most of the time, Kevin, but I also think they leave open the possibility that they're going to treat every situation independent of every other situation, which makes it so.
I hate that so much.
I know, but
I hate that so. Guy, if you're listening, I'll pull the old sports radio caller. Ollie, if you're listening, don't do that.
It makes it incredibly challenging to cover the team, but they've been honest about it. I mean, there was a lot of talk about that in spring training. I remember Ollie saying that, somebody asked a question about, well, if there's a situation where you probably have a better opportunity to win a game by pinch hitting somebody, but it's also a situation where you want this person to have that experience, which path do you go down? And Ollie said, over 162 games, there's going to be opportunities to make the decision in both ways. And that's where it is a challenge to cover this.
And I'm going to tell you right now, that is going to anger the fan base.
Sure.
That's going to make people observing angry if that's because what people want is to understand. They want to, people are not happy about the idea of a reset. Not every fan is the same, right? Most fans, all right, we get it. Every once in a while, you have to do things. A lot of fans are not okay with that. But one thing that they're definitely not okay with is inconsistency of logic. If we're resetting, then we're resetting. And if we're trying to win games, then we should always be trying to win games. And I think you lose people if you don't stay consistent with your approach.
I would add this, too. I would say it could change as the year goes along. If
you're not good in July, it's going to change everything. Right.
And we talked about how important it is to get off to a good start. Well, all of a sudden they're not in a great spot right now, having lost series against Boston and Pittsburgh. And now we'll talk more about the Phillies series later.
Yeah.
But you look at the 3 pitching matchups across that series, and not a single one of them is an advantage for the Cardinals. So
No.
we'll get into more of that coming up later on. If you want to chime in, you can do so by texting into the program at 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900. You can leave a comment on the video stream. It's the Redbird Rush Hour on KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This traffic report is the service of Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, and Electrical. I have an injury crash at the end of the ramp from 70 on to South 270. There's a little backup there. The ramp's getting on to westbound 70 north and southbound are heavy rain in the area. It's slow from the Rock Road out through Earth City. It's slow again, 94 through Zembel and Mid Rivers most of the way through Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Kind of busy. 364 more volume. Veterans Bridge to 94 Mugi. Youngerman out through Gudermuth a little slow. Westbound 64. That's where the trouble's been. You have a backup from the Boyle out through McCausland. It's slow west of McKnight to 270, approaching Clarkson to Topgolf, and then again this jam from Winghaven out to Prospect. Only that left lane still open past the earlier semi-fire. 270 both ways between Manchester and Ladue, slow, but southbound actually begins around Olive and runs down through to almost Big Bend. Westbound 44, some slow stuff through Bowles, Mirage approaching 109. Southbound 55, Arsenal down to Bates and Z to McNutt slow. And eastbound 64, looks like we have an incident at the 70 split. Traffic's jammed back onto the Poplar. I'm Roger Brand in the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
In the 70s, baseball player Jerry Kelly decided to do something different.
Thanks for calling Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
This year, the company Jerry started decided we'd do something different.
Thanks for calling Jerry Kelly Heating, Air and Electrical.
And electrical.
JerryKelly.com.
Currently 5:21. Our own Amy Marks, of course, is hanging out today at Community America Credit Union. Let's check in with Amy.
I'm here with Kathy O'Neill. She's the St. Louis Market President for Community America Credit Union. Now, we stepped into a little side room, Kathy, because there are so many people here celebrating the grand opening of Community America's latest branch right here in Hazelwood. It's a party.
It is a party today, and we're so excited. This is our first branch that we've built from the ground up. So happy to be in North County in the Hazelwood area. And really broadening our reach and the number of members and people that we can help in the community.
Well, it seems like the community is really coming out to celebrate your opening the branch. Of course, it doesn't hurt that you've got Cardinals alumni Alan Bennis here, along with Jason Isringhausen and Team Redbird. Yes. I love that Community America really focuses on the community.
We do focus. It's in our name. It's in our DNA, focusing on the community. We had a really fun ribbon cutting event just minutes ago, dashing through the raindrops, and gave a large gift to the Hazelwood School District, because we really do want to invest in the people in the areas where we have our branches and try and help our members get on a path to thrive and more financial stability.
Well, awesome. We hope everyone listening can come join us. We are here until 7 p.m. Like I mentioned, Cardinals alum, Team Redbird, 5952 Howder Shell Road in Hazelwood.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's business solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise can work for your business. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Lowe's knows that your deadlines don't change, even when your job does. But with Lowe's Buy Online, Pick Up in Store, we'll help you adjust on the fly. And when you absolutely can't leave the project, we can deliver to your job site as soon as same day. Lowe's knows pros. We help, you save. Valid on eligible in-stock orders and select zip codes placed by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. More terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
This May, the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is coming back to St. Louis. Join us at Energizer Park for the round of 32 as St. Louis City SC plays for this historic trophy. Get tickets now at stlcity.com/Open Cup.
This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
It's the Redbird Rush Hour. That's Kevin Wheeler. I'm Matt Pauley. If you want to join us, you can do so by texting into the program at 314-436-7900 or by leaving a message on our video stream. We'll address some of the messages that we've gotten coming up in the second half hour of the program. But just to kind of put a bow on what we were talking about earlier, Kevin, there are messaging issues. And, we got a text message with somebody asking about the empty seats. And I don't want to have the empty seats conversation because bluntly, we've had that conversation already and nothing's changed.
Well, there's only one thing going to change it.
Winning
more games.
Yeah. You got to go win more baseball games and that will change.
Or just being super exciting. But both of those take time to establish.
Yeah. You know what? I would encourage people to go to the ballpark because you get to watch Victor Scott II play center field. You get to watch Mason Wynn play shortstop.
There's deals on tickets. Too.
Yeah, and you're not going to be breaking the bank to go to a Cardinals game right now for sure. So those are reasons to certainly go to see some really cool things happening. But I think to your point, the Cardinals still want to sell tickets. And I give them credit for everything they've done with the game day experience and, the Friday night deal with the $5 hot dogs and the $5 beers and the DJ and all that stuff is great. But to really get people to walk back in, you got to have either winning baseball, another reason to come. And again, the mixed messaging, I think the Cardinals did not help themselves on this last road trip in terms of selling tickets for this upcoming homestand.
And look, there's no easy way to do it. And I completely understand. You're a business and you're trying to make money, and to make money, you got to sell tickets. But the path to that isn't straddling the line. The path to that is either committing and saying we're trying to win and then having an off season that reflects that. But that wasn't working. That path, I agree with the path that they chose, even though it's going to make people mad because you need to do this. You need to find out what you have so that for the longer term with a new president of baseball operations coming in, you know which path you need to follow and where you need to fill from the outside.
Right. And again, we don't totally know what the dynamic is in terms of Chaim Bloom's involvement. Oliver Marmol talked about that a little bit on one of his Tuesday conversations. Chaim's around. He's not around all the time. He was around for the first homestand. I don't know how often he's going to be back in, but he's around and certainly has an impact on what's going on. This is the Redbird Rush Hour with Kevin Wheeler and Matt Pauley right here on KMOX.
A great lawn is like a great sports team. It takes expertise and a little extra care to really stand out. Now, that's where True Green comes in. They're the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour, so they know a thing or two about keeping grass looking like a fairway. Now, here's the best part. It's more affordable than you think, and they'll even match any competitor's price. Plus, True Green backs it all up with a satisfaction guarantee. Not happy? They'll come back between visits to make it right. Don't wait. Head to truegreen.com today. Let the pros do the work while you sit back and enjoy the results.
Hi, Mia here at the winnings desk of the Missouri Lottery. With 56 million winning tickets last year, anyone can win big. So set your destination to winning, like gas stations, grocery stores, or anywhere you can buy a ticket. The Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome and play responsibly.
At California Psychics, we know that when you haven't found love, it feels like everyone else has. Every movie has a love interest. Every song is a love song. Where are all the songs about cats? Well, the joy of early bedtime. And of course, the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to help you find the one. We connect you with the very best. In fact, 98% of the psychics who apply to work with us don't make the grade. That's why we can guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. Download the app or connect with us at CaliforniaPsychics.com. Right now, new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. So you could be feeling all lovey-dovey real soon. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Whether you're shaping up a small yard or tackling serious acreage, Steel walk-behind, zero-turn, and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, it's sending EMS crews for an accident northbound 55 of Virginia. So as you head into the city, pay attention there. I can tell you there's just a short jam back north of River to pair up to it. Southbound Gawkers are worse, though. You're backed up from south of Arsenal all the way down through that area right around Loughborough is where the crash is. Westbound 64 is still bogged down from Kings Highway out through McCausland. Bumper to bumper storms move through the area. McKnight to Lindbergh, but remains slow to 270 west of Clarkson and Topgolf, and still a jam right at Winghaven, just crawling all the way out through Prospect. But again, only that left lane is open on westbound 64 there. Westbound 70 from the Rock Road in through 270, we have crash at the 270 interchange. All the ramps, all directions, pretty much backed up there. Westbound from almost Zumbell to Cave Springs, and then from Spencer Road all the way out through Bryan Road is pretty slow. Westbound 364 heavy across the Veterans Bridge, and then again from Youngerman through Mid River is just kind of busy. South 270 bogs down north of Olive. It's both directions between Manchester and Ladue, but it remains slow southbound all the way down through Big Bend. Northbound, actually 44 up through Big Bend's busy. Westbound 44, Big Bend out past 270 through 141. Again, slow due to weather. And downtown, eastbound 64 jams on the Poplar over to the 70 split. I'm Roger Brand at the Michael's Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
At 5:30, it is 63 degrees. The feels like it's 57 downtown at the Arch. Madison County State's Attorney Tom Haynes' office is out with a report into last year's crime. Haynes says they are seeing a shift in more drug charges involving meth than other drugs.
Sadly, a lot of individuals have been turning from opiates to meth.
Haynes says they also saw fewer homicides in 2024 compared to 23, but vehicle thefts did rise. A teenage volunteer firefighter who died in the line of duty will be laid to rest this weekend.
16-year-old Chevy Gall died driving to a water rescue during the severe storms last week. Chief of the Beaufort-Leslie Fire Protection District, Terry Feth, tells KMOX Gall was quiet, but when he spoke, his words carried weight.
Unsuspecting when you look at him, and he would, but he could fool you. He was a bright young man.
Feth says they only learned Gall was involved in a wreck when they responded to it after the water rescue. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
The funeral is Saturday in Washington, Missouri, with visitation from 10 till 1. You may be able to save on your grocery bill by using your freezer. Chris Jelfus tells KMOX if you find a good sale on milk, it's okay to freeze it.
The quality might not be what you're expecting after, so a lot of times it might be better for baking goods. You might just have to experiment. Eggs you can freeze as long as you're not freezing them in the shells. Crack those shells open, kind of like you're going to make scrambled eggs, and then store them that way.
Jelfs of the University of Illinois Extension tells KMOX most items can be frozen for 6 to 12 months, but they may lose some of their quality over time. Scattered showers tonight, low 45. Sunshine tomorrow, high 57. Right now, 63 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated, because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit vaxassist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The legendary Fast Eddie of Fast Eddie's Bon Air and Cardinals Hall of Famer Jason Isringhausen.
Hey, Izzy, what's going on, man? Looks kind of like you got something on your mind.
Well, Eddie boy, I'm thinking you may need to change the name of your place from Fast Eddie's to $5 Eddie's.
$5 Eddie's? Man, why in the world would I call it $5 Eddie's?
Well, I was in there the other day and bought myself the coldest beer I've ever had in my life, and I gave the guy $5. And then I went over and got some of those huge cold water peel and eat shrimps, and I gave her $5.
Well, I never really thought about that. There's a lot of $5 going on in there.
And then I went back up and got one of those huge Fast Eddie cheeseburgers, and I gave them $5 again.
Man, definitely has a ring to it. I think there's a lot of $5 going on.
Yeah, and I had about $100 worth of good time.
Well, that's good to hear, and it's easy to do with live music 7 days a week and a big old party going on that big, beautiful outdoor patio.
Well, like Mr. Shannon always says, if you're 21 and in the mood, head on over to Fast Eddie's Bon Air in Alton, Illinois, and maybe take a selfie on that old Harley Davidson of mine.
Who else has got a Cardinal Hall of Famer's Harley Davidson sitting out on the patios for some selfies?
Only Eddie boy.
Clint Black in concert. Clint Black, an incredible night featuring some of his greatest hits. This Saturday, 7 p.m., the Family Arena. Clint Black in concert. Special guests Ruby Lee and Emily Ann Roberts. On sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Don't miss Clint Black.
It's the greatest pop rock of the 60s and 70s. The Happy Together Tour 2025 with the Turtles, Jay and the Americans, Little Anthony, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, the Vogues, and the Cowsills. August 21st, the Family Arena. Reserve seats on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster.
Need a lawyer? Onder wins. Call Onder Law at 314-9-MILLION. That's 314-9 all zeros. Or go to onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX.
It's the Redbird Rush Hour here on KMOX. We've got you till 6 o'clock. Then Kevin leaves. I stick around. Kevin's already had a very long day. He was on the Dave Glover show. I stick around 6 to 8 tonight.
Had fun, though.
For Sports Open Line. Yeah, no Dave. Both Dave and Ron's were sick today.
How about that?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
I just worked through my
They shared the
sickness
same
over
microphone.
weekend.
I know that.
That is true. It's the one I'm at right now.
Yeah, it's the one I was at
So
earlier. But no, here's your good news. Clean Freak, noted Clean Freak, Amy Mark scores, cleaned it off with Clorox and all kinds of stuff. So
God bless Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wanted to get into something that Kelly sent in via our video stream watching on Facebook. And Kelly is a loyal viewer.
Here, let me
of
get
all
the
of our
horns up
programs.
because Kelly's also in a band. So let me
Okay.
get that up there.
There you go.
Hi, Kelly.
Says, talk about Oliver Marmol and his Tuesday appearances here on KMOX. He says, lying to fan base on Tuesday noontime show makes me sick. Just be real about how long they can go before you see some movement at the top. I know it won't happen. Another year, nobody in the seats can't go long. I don't look. I get that we're the home of the Cardinals, and I get that Oliver Marmol's being very gracious with his time and showing up at noon on every Tuesday. It's okay to like disagree with things that Ali says, but I didn't hear him lie.
Yeah,
about
that's
anything.
I like Kelly. Kelly, I think he just said his band's playing
on
Sunday at the ballpark. At the ballpark. Good luck, man.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. I'm with Matt though, Kelly. I listened to that whole half hour. I heard things I disagreed with. I didn't hear a lie. I didn't hear any deception in any of that. But again, I disagree on the Michaelis thing. I think that it's not just 2 starts; it's 2 years plus 2 starts, and it's been going this way for a long time. And he wouldn't have much more of these. But I also don't expect the manager to come on the radio and say, "Yeah, Miles is on a short leash, and if he has another one of those, he's out of there." Like I wouldn't expect that. I just want them to do it
for 2 reasons. What you said is right, but it's for 2 reasons. A, at the end of the day, it's not Ali's decision. When
it's his decision who starts.
Yeah, but from a roster spot standpoint, if you're gonna, because I know your whole thing is like switch him with Matz and put him in the bullpen.
Better than the current setup.
At that point, I wash my hands of him because I don't think there's any success that Michaelis is going to have success out of the bullpen. So if you're doing that, you're just doing that to because you're paying him and you're trying to be creative when you don't have to be creative. So that's the first thing. It's not Ali's call on whether or not he's on the roster or not.
Right.
And then secondly, I don't want my manager going on the radio, going on anything and trashing guys. And I don't think he did that, but that's, people always say, oh, Ali lost the clubhouse, and everybody's ever said that is 100%
Nobody
completely
knows
wrong.
unless you're in there.
Ali has never lost the clubhouse, but you could lose the clubhouse if you're known as the manager who goes on the radio once a week and starts trashing your players.
It's hard. I get it though. It's hard sometimes because they're going to have to play the politics game too, like the manager does when they're going on. There's only so much they're going to be able to explain. But that's why actions need to matter, right? Mm-hmm. That's why you can't let the thing go too long with Miles if he struggles again. I mean, again, it's not if it were like he was good last year and he stinks the first 2 or 3, fine. But he's been bad for 2 years. And he even said this offseason, Miles' own words, I need to pitch better. Fans deserve that. So there's acknowledgement from the player that it's not been good enough. And I think that sooner rather than later in a reset year for a guy that's in his free agent walk year who's 36, 37 years old.
The one area that I think we disagree a little bit, Kevin, is I was open to the idea that if he was really willing to try to change his approach, that maybe something could happen. So I'm willing to give him a little bit more leash, another couple starts, and kind of for the time being, put the last 2 years in the rearview mirror. But at the end of the day, if he continues to pitch to a 5+ ERA like he has the last 2 years, then it all matters. At some point, the experiment just has to end.
Yeah, if it's just decent over the next couple of starts, I can let it play for a little bit. If he goes out and gets rocked against Philly like he just did, I'm making the move right then and there. I'm not waiting. If I'm in charge. But I'm not, so don't worry. It won't happen.
It's the Redbird Rush Hour. We've got more coming up in just a moment right here on KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This traffic report is a service of Interpark Holdings. Westbound 70 is still slow from the west end of the airport all the way out to 270, and eastbound 70 is bogged down at Air City. There's a crash at the end of the ramp getting on to South 270, the reason for the delays there. You're bogged down from Mid-Rivers all the way out through Highway K, then it's opening up. South 270 is still slow north of Olive, all the way down to Big Bend and 44, most of the way down to Tesson Ferry. North 270, Clayton Road to Ladou's busy. South 170, a solid jam, Ladue down to 64. Westbound 64, Kings Highway to Big Bend, slow. McKnight all the way out to 270 due to the recent weather. And we still have a jam on westbound 64 right at Winghaven all the way out to Prospect. Still only left lane open past that earlier tractor-trailer fire there. Southbound 55, they just cleared that crash at River de Pere, but it's a solid jam just south of Arsenal down to it for the time being. Downtown, it looks like they cleared the incident. Eastbound 64 at 70, but traffic still jammed from the Poplar over to 3rd Street. Make game day parking easy with iParkit, with 2 convenient locations on Clark Avenue right next to the ballpark. Download the iParkit app and drive in and out using a license plate. Choose iParkit for convenience and peace of mind. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX.
It's the Redbird Rush Hour right here on KMOX, along with Kevin Wheeler. I'm Matt Pauley. We appreciate everybody being tuned in today. Cardinals Phillies tomorrow, and Kevin, you know, we mentioned the Cardinals getting off to a good start this year. They're not in a horrible spot. They're only 2 games under 500. There's some very winnable games there that they have not won.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right?
Yes.
There's probably 3 games that they lost that they could have won, and 2 they probably should have.
Yeah, I think you look at they should have won one of those extra inning games against the Angels,
and they should have won.
They should have won the Helsley blown save,
yeah,
and they should have won yesterday. There's your 3 games, and we're at very different tone if those games go in that direction.
I want to be very clear. When I'm saying should have won, I'm not saying that in an excuse it way. I'm saying that in a condemning way. Like, you blew it.
Yeah.
You blew it. You had a chance, and you didn't do it.
And right now, the perception of the team means so much. And those are perception losses because it changes the way you view the team still very early on. And I am a believer that this team can be good enough to contend for a playoff spot this year. I have not fallen off of that yet, but it's a little tougher to say that right now. But again, we're very early on in the season.
Yeah, look, none of the things that I'm being critical of are about condemning anything or saying this is done, they're finished.
Right.
I mean, it's April 10th.
Yeah.
You know, remember the
12 games in.
It was in 2011. One of my favorite, still to this day, one of my favorite sound bites ever was the first week of 2011. The Cardinals couldn't hit. They couldn't score. And Tony La Russa got mad at us all. He's like, guys, it's the first week of the season.
Yeah.
Like, relax. And then that year is the year they end up going on and winning the World Series.
None of this stuff.
Not that this is going to happen this year. Just saying that we need a lot more information to say this team is going to be something, good or bad.
None of this stuff actually matters until it matters. Like, meaning that if this does continue on for a while, then you can say, oh, we saw the red flags in the first couple weeks of the season, but a lot of this stuff can turn around.
Yeah.
Specifically, though, when we look to this series coming up, Philadelphia is really good. They are a legitimate World Series contender.
To me, they're the second best team in the National League
behind the Dodgers.
And I think they're a team that could easily beat the Dodgers.
I agree
in the playoffs.
100%.
Yeah.
Phillies are really, really good.
Their pitching is stupid good.
That's the point I want to get to here, because you look at the 3 starting pitching matchups, and it's not too often that the Cardinals are going to go into a series where every single game the advantage goes to the other starting pitcher. You know, most of those series, if you've got Sonny Gray going, there's a good chance that you like Sonny over whoever he's going up against. You look at these 3 matchups for this series: Palante against Nola, Michaelis against Sanchez, Liberatore against Wheeler.
It's my cousin Zach.
There you go.
We're not related.
All 3.
Otherwise, I'd be hitting him up for money.
all three of those matchups very much favor
it's not
advantage
close.
Philadelphia Phillies.
I think that's kind of the scary part if you are worried, is I think that's going to be the case for a lot of series.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it is.
No, I disagree.
I mean, so look at Houston. Valdez, Brown, and Blanco.
It's Gray,
You're
Fetty,
not
and
you're not taking Sonny Gray over. I mean, you again. He's the exception. I'm talking about all the other guys. There aren't many series as I'm looking at. You get the Mets after that. Now, the Mets rotation's not that good.
I might take Palante over Blanco.
But he's not facing him though.
Isn't that the Wednesday matchup?
No, it is. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. But if you look at the two of them last year, Blanco was better.
Okay, but that's the point I'm trying to make is that I think most series this is a stupid thing to argue about, but
Let's argue more.
I think most series you're going to look at it and you're going to see at least one game where you like the Cardinals pitching match.
Right, but this year maybe a lot less than in the past. Okay. Unless Libby really kind of gets. I'm a fan of Liberatore. I think he's very talented. I always thought it was unfortunate that they never stuck with him in the past. And I know why they didn't, because they were in that short term, we got to win now, we can't let him develop at the major league level mindset. But I think by the end of the year, he might be somebody we're actually like, this guy's pretty good, and we do like him over more. But I mean, I would say at least 3 out of every 5 times through the rotation. So when you got 5 starters, 60% of the time, the guy that you're facing is better than your guy.
I think that's correct. I think that's right on.
Unless Matthew Liberatore takes a nice step forward.
Yes.
Because I think Fetty can be pretty good. I think Palante's kind of okay, but he's more of a fourth spot in the rotation kind of guy. But that's a lot of that is just on the field now because it hasn't been good right now, right? I mean, it can change if you see 3 or 4 weeks of success.
The other side of this is they're going to be going to a 6-man rotation here in about a week.
I predict they won't.
You don't think they're going to?
They can't. They can't cover the innings. If you're going to take a guy out of the bullpen right now and put him in the rotation, and your guys are not going 6 or 7 innings, you're going to ruin the bet. You're going to be putting guys on the injured list, not sending them to Memphis.
Look, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I know this. What I'm about to say is true. John Mozeliak has said that he's been thinking about the 6-man rotation for a long time.
I know it's the plan.
They are all in on this one.
I'm going to text Mo, and I'm going to like, brother, you sure about this?
We can roll a milkshake bet on this one that they're going to go to a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, I know that it's the plan. And I actually was cool with the plan when they announced it, because there are questions about this. Based on what we've seen, man, I don't know if you can do it without breaking your pen.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but they're going to it. Nah. They are 100%, without a doubt, they are going to this 6-man rotation. We're going to take a break, and when we return, we're going to kind of put a bow on that non-obstruction call that was made yesterday. A little more information. Should have it been obstruction? We'll talk about it next. It's the Redbird Rush Hour on KMOX.
Biodiesel blends made with soy feedstocks are the most reliable renewable fuels. Soy-powered biodiesel blends are better for engines, providing better cold flow and lubricity than other feedstocks. These biodiesel blends reduce friction and result in less buildup, meaning less fuel filter changes for your operation. Most importantly, soy-based biodiesel helps the farmer's bottom line. Find out more at illsoy.org/farmer-resources. Paid for by the Illinois Soybean Checkoff Program.
This is Mason Wynn of the Cards. Community America asked me to tell you what it feels like on Profit Payout Day, when our members get a portion of the profits. I'm thinking it probably feels like opening day. Exciting, new, or even better, I bet it feels like playing the star shortstop who turns a game-winning double play. And the fans go wild. They ask for selfies with you and autographs. You get a lifetime supply of free stadium hot dogs. Yep, that's basically what it feels like when you get your profit payout. Community America Credit Union, invested in you.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm at the movies, asking people if they'll switch seats with me for $574.
Here, take mine.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
Too much work.
Not if you call them. They handle the switching.
Now, that's a plot twist.
Shh. Check Allstate first, and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage
is still have a backup from Kings Highway. It's slow to Big Bend. It's slow again west of McKnight through about Spady, and then it jams at Winghaven out to, again, that left lane restriction, or the left lane only is the restriction open there at Prospect. Eastbound 64 backed up across the Boone Bridge, east of Research Park, road work going on there. Eastbound 64 is heavy through the Interbelt, of course. South 270 bogs down Olive, down to about Doherty Ferry after that, not so bad. South 170, just kind of busy at Ladue. They cleared that crash on the ramp from 70 to South 270. Westbound 70, a little slow around the airport. Still heavy from Mid Rivers to 79, approaching Highway K and Lake St. Louis out to 61, just a couple of slow spots. Southbound 55 better, south of Arsenal down to Bates, slow, not a complete jam like it was earlier. And eastbound 70 is just a little heavy east of the Musial Veterans Bridge. Eastbound 70 is also slow east of the Three Eyes most of the way to Route 4. I'm Roger Brand at the Michael's Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
Into the final segment of today's Redbird Rush Hour. This hour moves along so fast. We'll be back with you. I'll be back with you after the 6 o'clock news for a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. And then we've got Redbird Rush Hour for a full hour tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Leading into, because it's a 7:15
That's right.
start. So
we got a full show.
Full show in front of Cardinals baseball tomorrow. Wanted to put a bow on. That's Kevin Wheeler and Matt Pauley. Wanted to put a bow on something that happened yesterday. It was the funky play with Thomas Sajaci.
Yeah.
Coming in at third. There was the collision with the catcher. The ball goes flying. Sajaci has to completely alter his course to get home.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of conversation about whether or not that was obstruction. I mentioned earlier today to my hit on Chris and Amy, and somebody kind of came at me on the text line saying,
"Oh, I'm sure they did.
That wasn't obstruction." I think by the letter of the law, Kevin, as we continue to kind of read this thing out from yesterday, that was obstruction and was a missed call by the umpires.
If anybody's looking for really good breakdowns on stuff like this, there's an account on Twitter that's called Close Call Sports and Umpire Ejections.
They're really good.
Yeah, they do a great job. So they did an actual write-up of this, not on Twitter, but like if you go to their Twitter account, there's a link that breaks it down, and it cites the rule. The baseball rules define obstruction as a fielder, while not in possession of the ball and not in the act of fielding the ball, impeding the progress of any runner. Well, the ball had already hit the ground and rolled away, so they were not fielding the ball. They were not in the process of fielding the ball, but by being where they were, they made the runner divert his path.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be intentional.
And there doesn't have to be
Too many
contact.
people do not, and there does not need to be contact. Yeah. All it says is, if you impede the progress of any runner, it's obstruction. That should have been easy. And I will say, at every level of baseball that I've watched, pros, college, high school, summer ball for teenagers, umpires are just afraid to call it. They're just afraid to call it because that would have been giving a run to the Cardinals. But it should have been that. It was the textbook definition of obstructing the runner's path when you're not in possession of the ball or not in the process of fielding it.
I also don't know why it's not reviewable.
Well, that's another thing. Like, we put too many limitations on reviews.
Yeah.
If a review is about a matter of interpreting a rule, it should be reviewed. Because that's what that was. It was an interpretation of a rule. It wasn't a judgment
No judgment call, yeah.
They were in the path. There was no judgment. They were laying in the baseline.
It's kind of, boundary plays on the infield can't be reviewed.
Right.
If it's in, that makes zero sense
Makes no
whatsoever.
sense. Makes no
And
sense.
I don't know if it's protecting umpires. I don't know what it is, but teams are limited to the amount of times that they can challenge. There should not be the limited. Something like that is actually pretty clear. It's a pretty black and white issue.
I don't know what New York would do about it, but I mean, the lettering, the words in the rule are super clear on this. They do not mention contact. They do not mention intent. I don't care if they collided and fell. They're in the way.
Yeah. And not Major League Baseball, baseball in general makes such a big deal that the runner on the bases, they set their path. So like when you come around first and you go to second, wherever you start, that is your path. And then nobody can change that. Why all of a sudden, and it's the same thing going from second to third. Once you establish what your path is going to be, that is your path, and you are allowed to have that pathway no matter what. Why does it change all of a sudden when we're talking about the path between third base and home?
And the only other thing I can think of, and it doesn't make any sense because the home plate umpire would have had to be standing there looking at it.
He was standing on home plate.
Where, you can see sometimes they don't call it because they don't see it. But there's no way you didn't see it. It's right where the ball was, and there was a collision. They were laying
down in the middle,
and the player had to make a choice. He had to go around or go over. He made the choice to go around. That's not his problem. That call needs to be made.
I don't blame JC at all for the way he ran down the line.
Last second decision.
But at the same time, if he tries to leap over them, or if he makes contact and he trips and falls, the call probably is made obstruction at that point.
Yeah. Well, umpire should have called anyway.
I would agree. All right, Kevin, that was good. We'll be back doing this tomorrow.
Have a fine Sports Open Line, brother.
All right, that's Kevin Wheeler. I'm Matt Pauley. Thanks for being tuned in again. Cardinals baseball tomorrow. They are going to be back at home as they open up a big series against a really good team in the Philadelphia Phillies. Gas House Gang tomorrow at 12 noon. Redbird Rush Hour tomorrow at 5 o'clock. I've got you for Sports Open Line beginning after the 6 o'clock news here on KMOX.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less.